In South Carolina, a man named Brad Sigmon was facing the final step of the justice system. Convicted of taking 2 lives more than 20 years ago, he chose a method of execution that the country had rarely seen in decades: a firing squad. This decision immediately drew attention nationwide. For years, his case stayed mostly in the background, quietly recorded in Greenville County's legal files. But as the execution date approached, questions about the legal system, remorse, and accountability came sharply into focus. How does someone spend decades on death row? Can time change a person? And what does justice look like in a case this old? This story is about crime, consequence, and the long legal process that followed. If you care about justice and want to see the full truth behind cases like this, subscribe now. Don't wait, those who stay silent can't claim ignorance later. And if you're not subscribing, go ahead and explain in the comments why you're missing out. The victims in this case were William David Lark, 62, and his wife, Gladys Gwendolyn Lark, 59. They were residents of Greenville County, South Carolina, well known in their community for their quiet and dependable nature. William worked as a skilled tradesman, known for his steady hand and meticulous attention to detail. Gladys was devoted to her family, often helping neighbors and volunteering in local programs. Together, they had created a life rooted in routine and care, a home that offered stability and warmth. Their connection to Brad Sigmon was through his former relationship with their daughter. While that relationship had ended years prior, Sigmon maintained a complicated attachment to the family, which would later become a critical factor in the events of April 2001. Friends and neighbors described the Larks as patient and generous, often extending support where it was needed, including toward young adults navigating personal challenges. The Larks' daily life was unremarkable on the surface, yet this normalcy made the events that followed all the more shocking. Their interactions with Sigmon before the crime had been limited to ordinary visits and conversations, nothing indicating the extreme outcome that would later unfold. Their lives, once defined by routine and quiet stability, became central to a case that would spark a national conversation about justice, remorse, and the criminal justice system. If you want to understand the full complexity of cases like this and how ordinary lives can become part of extraordinary legal battles, subscribe now. Don't wait, share your thoughts in the comments if you're not subscribing and explain why you're staying silent. Brad Sigmon was born in the late 1970s in South Carolina. Those who knew him described a young man who often struggled with impulse control and substance use. Over the years, Sigmon developed a pattern of volatile behavior, complicated further by periods of drug use, including crack cocaine. Experts later noted signs of untreated mental health challenges that may have influenced his decision-making. By the late 1990s, Sigmon became involved in a relationship with a young woman who was connected to the Lark family. Friends and family observed that his attachment to the relationship was intense, and after it ended, he remained fixated on the past. Those around him recalled arguments, erratic messages, and attempts to re-establish contact that grew more persistent over time. Legal and psychological experts reviewing the case highlighted a combination of factors: long-standing personal grievances, untreated mental health issues, and substance abuse. These elements created a volatile environment in which decisions were influenced by emotion and past trauma rather than rational judgment. Though Sigmon presented a calm exterior at times, those who encountered him noted a tension that suggested inner turmoil. This combination of instability and fixation would eventually intersect with the Lark family, setting the stage for the events that would unfold in April 2001. To understand how ordinary interactions can escalate into complex legal cases, and to follow the path that led to one of South Carolina's most notable executions, subscribe now. Don't miss these detailed examinations of real-life cases. If you're not subscribing, leave a comment explaining why you're choosing to miss out. In the weeks before April 27, 2001, Brad Sigmon's behavior became increasingly erratic. Friends and neighbors noted that he frequently contacted his former partner, despite her attempts to distance herself. Texts and phone calls grew more insistent, reflecting a growing fixation. Those close to Sigmon observed heightened agitation and mood swings, sometimes lasting for days. During this period, he also struggled with substance use. Reports indicate that in the evenings leading up to the crime, he consumed crack cocaine, which his legal team later referenced during appeals as a factor affecting his judgment. Family members described a man grappling with frustration, feelings of rejection, and unresolved anger, which he seemed unable to manage. On the days immediately before the event, Sigmon began making plans that would later be revealed in police reports and witness accounts. He spoke of visiting the Lark family home and insisted to friends that he needed to set things right, though he never elaborated. These statements, paired with erratic movements and sporadic attempts to contact his former partner, painted a picture of a person on the edge of a significant, irreversible decision. Understanding these days is crucial to grasping the context in which the events of April 27 unfolded. To follow how these actions escalated into one of South Carolina's most closely examined criminal cases, subscribe now. If you're hesitating, leave a comment explaining why you're choosing to watch but not subscribe, because missing this story means missing the full truth. On the morning of April 27, 2001, Brad Sigmon's movements were noted by neighbors and family as unusually purposeful. Around mid-morning, he left his residence with a clear objective, though he did not openly disclose it to anyone. Witness accounts later confirmed he made stops along the way, contacting acquaintances, and preparing himself in a manner that suggested planning rather than casual activity. By early afternoon, Sigmon arrived at the Lark family home. He interacted briefly with individuals nearby, maintaining a calm exterior that would later contrast sharply with the intensity of the situation that unfolded inside. Reports indicate he entered the residence, where both William and Gladys Lark were present, through a door that was unlocked at the time. During his time inside the home, events escalated quickly. The interactions that followed were noted in court records and trial testimony as resulting from long-standing grievances and personal fixation. Sigmon confronted the household, and key actions were taken that led to police involvement later that day. His former partner was also present and was able to leave the situation under circumstances described in court documents, providing critical information to law enforcement. After leaving the Lark residence, Sigmon traveled outside Greenville County, initiating a period of flight that would last 11 days. Law enforcement immediately began to track his movements, using witness accounts, vehicle sightings, and other investigative tools. The sequence of his actions that day set the foundation for the arrest, investigation, and subsequent trial that would capture national attention. Understanding the decisions and actions Sigmon took on this day provides insight into the interplay between personal fixation, opportunity, and consequence. To follow the complete investigation and see how these events unfolded into one of South Carolina's most examined cases, subscribe now. If you're hesitating, leave a comment explaining why you're choosing not to join this detailed exploration of justice and consequence. Following the events of April 27, 2001, law enforcement moved quickly to locate and apprehend Brad Sigmon. Officers began by canvassing the area around the Lark residence, gathering witness statements and verifying the timeline of movements reported by neighbors. Vehicle sightings, telephone records, and Sigmon's known routines all became critical pieces of the puzzle. Investigators relied heavily on forensic analysis to reconstruct the sequence of events. Evidence collected from the residence and surrounding areas provided insight into how the crime unfolded. While respecting privacy and avoiding graphic content, court records detail how law enforcement methodically documented the scene, ensuring every fact was corroborated before proceeding. Forensic teams also examined physical and digital evidence, comparing it to statements and witness accounts to establish a clear timeline. During the 11-day period after the incident, Sigmon was considered a fugitive. Officers coordinated across multiple counties, using tip lines, vehicle tracking, and collaboration with local law enforcement agencies to trace his movements. Each lead was meticulously investigated, and patterns emerged that pointed to his location. This coordinated effort ultimately led to his arrest, demonstrating the thoroughness and persistence of the investigative teams. Legal experts later noted that the investigation highlighted the importance of combining traditional investigative techniques with emerging forensic methods. Documented interviews, corroborated timelines, and behavioral analysis all played a role in building a complete picture of Sigmon's actions and state of mind. Psychologists and criminal analysts reviewed these findings during pre-trial hearings, providing insights into his mental health and decision-making process at the time of the crime. The meticulous nature of the investigation ensured that the subsequent legal proceedings were grounded in verified facts. It also underscored the complexity of modern criminal investigations, where human observation, technology, and forensic expertise intersect to reveal the full scope of a case. To understand the full impact of such investigations and how law enforcement pieces together events that initially appear chaotic, subscribe now. Don't let critical lessons in justice and accountability pass by. If you're not subscribing, explain in the comments why you're letting the story unfold without you. The investigation into Brad Sigmon's actions provided a clear record of events and decisions, highlighting how methodical law enforcement work can reconstruct a complex situation. Every movement, communication, and interaction was carefully documented, giving the legal system a comprehensive foundation to review and deliberate. The case concluded with Sigmon's execution, following years of legal proceedings and appeals. His legal team presented arguments citing his mental health challenges and the possibility of personal growth over 2 decades, but all appeals were denied, and clemency was not granted. This outcome sparked national discussion on the balance between accountability and rehabilitation, as well as the effectiveness of long-term death row confinement in promoting reflection or change. Family members and community members responded in different ways. Some emphasized the need for justice and closure, while others noted Sigmon's remorse and behavioral improvements over the years. The case illustrated the complexity of human behavior, showing how decisions, mental health, and past actions intersect with the law in ways that are rarely straightforward. Beyond the individual case, it provides important lessons about the criminal justice system. Investigations rely not just on evidence collection, but on understanding human behavior and intent. Legal proceedings must weigh facts, motives, and circumstances carefully to ensure that outcomes are fair and just. Cases like this demonstrate that justice is rarely simple, and that every detail, from witness testimony to forensic analysis, can shape the course of a legal process. For viewers, this documentary underscores the importance of paying attention to the full story behind a headline. Understanding how personal decisions, legal systems, and societal norms interact offers insight into both crime and justice. To follow more cases where the full facts are examined and lessons are drawn from real events, subscribe now. Don't miss the details that matter. If you're not subscribing, leave a comment explaining why you're letting this story unfold without you.